Welcome to the 44th episode of the Nordic Sports News Podcast, the world's first daily cross-country ski and biathlon podcast with the latest news from around the globe. Today we check the race report and results from the Davos Cross-Country Skiing World Cup, Hochfilzen Biathlon World Cup and Martell Junior IBU Cup. At the Davos World Cup, Norway shined at the individual races. Norwegian Therese Johaug dominated the individual women's cross-country skate in Davos. Frida Karlsson, the leader of the general, finished only third. We expected a fourth episode in the fight between Therese Johaug and Frida Karlsson. It has not happened. The Norwegian showed she was thirsty for revenge after defeat in the individual cross-country skiing in Rjukan and in Lillehammer. I was told in the first kilometers that I was a few seconds behind. But I didn't stress, and suddenly the 2 seconds that were late turned into 7 seconds. Then I felt that I was in good shape. I applied myself to my technique and I'm happy to have won, Johaug explained to NRK. Frida Karlsson, third behind the American Jessie Diggins, keeps her yellow bib but loses that of leader of the specialty, to the profit of her Norwegian rival. The Swede admitted to the SVT that this race could give her a lot. I thought I was going to start calm and then control. At the same time, you have to be on the limit all the time. This will surely bring me experience for the future. I learned a lot today. In the men's field, Norwegian Simen Heggs Kruger handily dominated the men's individual skate in Davos, nearly 30 seconds ahead of his opponents. Simen Heggs Kruger never ceases to command respect. The Norwegian, winner of the individual skate in Lillehammer last weekend, did it again today in Davos. The two-time Olympic champion even gave himself the luxury of raising his arms at the finish, with more than 20 seconds ahead of the clock on his opponents. It's not every day that you can celebrate with the public in the last few hundred meters. But today I could smile and wave a little on the last lap, he told NRK. For his sixth individual victory, Simen Heggs Kruger was more than 30 seconds ahead with 2 kilometers from the finish on Hans Christer Holland, second at this intermediate. Something to be somewhat admiring. The multiple world champion Petter Northug was moreover really impressed by the show of strength of his compatriot. On TV2, the power which he releases when he attacks, nobody is close to it. He says he doesn't notice the altitude. We can talk as much as we want about Klæbo's superb technique, but in skate technique, Kruger is, for me, the best of all time. Simen Heggs Kruger was not the only one to prove his worth this Sunday. The Norwegians were once again in number in the first ranks. They were notably 5 in the top 6. Johannes Høsflot Klæbo, surprisingly second, congratulated himself on his excellent last lap. In particular, it is by far the best skate race I have ever competed in. It's good that it happens at altitude. I had very good skis and I was in good shape, explained the triple Olympic champion, winner of the sprint the day before, at the microphone of Norwegian television. Only Sergei Ueshagov managed to interfere with this Norwegian lead group. The Russian managed to get on the podium, third. He showed a little more that he will have to be counted on this season. The Norwegians were the best not only in Davos, but also at the Hochfilzen Biathlon World Cup. At the women's race, Marte Olsbu Roisellen caps Hanna Sola at the finish during the pursuit. After a last beautiful lap, the Norwegian Marte Olsbu Roisellen won the Hochfilzen pursuit just ahead of Hanna Sola. Elvira Eberg was third. This season, the pursuit queen is called Marte Olsbu Roisellen. The only Norwegian to hold her place at the start of this winter, the native of Froland, 6-time world champion in 2020, continues, this Sunday afternoon, with a second victory in a row in the specialty. Leader of the general classification, the Queen of the Enthal's Worlds therefore honored her yellow bib. Starting in third position almost a minute from Hanna Sola, she was 1 minute and 5 seconds from the Belarusian after the prone shooting. It was from this moment that the Scandinavian began her fantastic comeback. Missing a target on the first standing against 2 for Sola, she returned to less than 40 seconds then to 12 at the exit of the last shooting range, perfect for her, punctuated by a fault for her opponent, the sprint winner last Friday. The last lap, which we thought was rather serene for Hanna Sola, until then imperial on the track, turned into a battlefield. Little by little, Olsbu Roisellen was catching up with the Belarusian in the big climb of the course. This before depositing it in the last part of the track to afford an 11th career victory. Elvira Eberg, impressive with just 1 miss, climbed 14 positions to complete the podium. From the men's side, like last week in Östersund, Norway won the men's biathlon World Cup relay. On the tracks of Hochfilzen, the Scandinavians were ahead of France and Russia. In a biathlon relay, even more than in any other sport, finding the right chemistry within a national team is a tricky question. For a long time, France placed Martin Fourcade, its charismatic leader, in last position, that of the finisher. It is that, more and more, The big nations place their best elements before the final stint, precisely to create gaps before the final sprint. This is what Norway, during the 2021 World's Race in Pokljuka, was keen to do with its surprise lineup: Sturla Holm Legried, Tarjei Bo, Johannes Thingsbo, and Vidal Sjåstad Christensen. A winning combination that emerged, as Siegfried Mazet explained to us at the time, from collective reflection. This Sunday in Hochfilzen, the Scandinavians have done it again. After unadorned passages from Legried and Johannes Bo, on another planet with clean shooting, created abysmal gaps to perfectly launch Christensen, finally victorious in front of the French team. A team from France, less than 2 months from the Beijing 2022 Olympic Games, which is still looking for itself. If Fabien Claude seems to settle in the position of pitcher and Quentin Fillon-Maillet in that of finisher, Simon Desthou, second this Sunday, and Emilien Jacquelin have changed their roles compared to last week. This gave a race with 8 misses, against 5 for the Norwegians, finishing with a good 20 seconds from the lead. Before Enthalles, we had found the right composition of the relay just in the race before, recalled Emilien Jacquelin in the mixed zone. Indeed, before their Italian coronation, the French had already played 2 stints with their now legendary quartet. A second place, then a first in January in Oberhof-Ruhpolding. Next month, the men of Vincent Vitoz and Patrick Favre will have to stabilize their relay composition to shine in February in Beijing. And to wrap up our news today, we have the men's and women's relay from the Junior IBU Cup in Martell, Italy. Germany won the women's relay in the Junior Cup. The Germans were ahead of Italy and Austria. Following the first biathletes, Lisa Ozzel's Austria led the dance ahead of Russia and Italy. But these 3 nations stood together in less than 10 seconds. Behind we had Bulgaria, Switzerland, then Germany. Unfortunately, Russia was going to be kicked out of the fight. Indeed, their second biathlete forgot a penalty lap and therefore received a 2 minutes penalty. The nightmare would continue for the Russian quartet since Kristina Pavlyushina forgot to shoot all her shots and added 4 penalty minutes to her team. In the lead, we saw the return of Germany thanks to an excellent stint from Luisa Müller, second in the individual this Friday. Switzerland and Italy remained in ambush when launching the third relay skiers. With Marika Braun, Germany continued to lead. Behind, a 3-way match was organized to complete the podium with Italy, Austria, and Switzerland. The biathlete from across the Rhine, who had failed at the foot of the podium on the individual, did not hesitate to finish the job despite the pressure from Sarah Skattel. Third place on the podium was decided at the very end of the race with a big duel between Oleksandra Merkushina's Ukraine and Laura Wagner's Austria. Germany therefore won the first women's relay of this winter ahead of Italy. The Austrian finally had the very young Ukrainian, 3 years her junior, on the last lap to take the bronze. In the men's side, in a race of many twists and turns, Poland won the relay. Winner of the individual 2 days earlier, Darius Lodl started the German relay well. Despite 2 misses, the 21-year-old biathlete passed the baton in the lead along with Ukraine's Vitaly Imanzin and the Czech Republic's Andrej Manek, 3-time youth vice world champion in 2020. But everything would change in the second stint. In turn, Germany, Italy and Switzerland were at fault, leaving the field open to Dmitry Rushchak's Ukraine. The Czech Republic returned to skis and Anton Vidmar's Slovenia completed the provisional podium. Very solid since the start of the race, the Czechs gave up any hope of a podium after the 3 penalty laps of their third torchbearer, Josef Kobrda. Ukraine stood out in front of Poland and Switzerland, while Russia, which sank on the first shot, 2 laps for Denis Irodov, gradually returned to the match. As since the start of this race, everything was once again going to switch to the firing point. It was first of all Ukraine which lost the lead in favor of Marcin Zawol's Poland. Then Switzerland scuttled its chances with 3 penalty rounds. World champion in the Youth Worlds Relay last winter, Poland won this first relay of the Junior Cup 2021-2022. Germany, back from the Devil Vauvert, finally took second place ahead of Ukraine. And that's all for today, folks. Stay tuned and subscribe to our channels on YouTube, Spotify and Instagram. Just type Nordic Sports News on these platforms and access our content. Thank you so much and see you tomorrow in the next episode. Information credits to Nordic Mag, NRK, SVT and TV2.